Hey, what's up, guys? It's Ava.
Hey, it's Russell. And have you ever been in this situation where you wanted to donate shoes, but you didn't know if they were actually safe to reuse? We've all been in this situation before. We have running shoes laying around, we want to be able to donate them, but they have some rips and tears here and there. Is it really safe to reuse? This can be a very tricky situation for everyone and anyone, which is why we're making this vlog. Today we'll be doing a vlog on our Soul to Soul shoe guideline to help you choose the right pair of shoes to donate.
Before we get into this guide, shoes can come in different shapes, colors, and forms. Virtually any shoe can be donated. For Soul to Soul, we ask that you donate athletic shoes and sneakers, as we want to create a more athletic accessibility for our recipients. However, if you are donating to thrift stores, charities, shelters, or anywhere else, you can donate any type of shoe.
There's about 5 areas you want to keep in mind when you're looking at your shoes. The first being the shoe mileage. Second, your overall impression of the shoe. Third, the exterior of the shoe. 4, if there's any odor in the shoe. And 5, the interior and soles. Using these 5 areas, we can make accurate opinions about our shoes, and we won't be as lost as we used to be about donating. And something to keep in mind is that after about 6 months, you should replace your shoes. And if you don't know what that is as far as mileage, that's typically 200 or 300 miles after. So after that mark, shoes start to see wear and tear, you start seeing different damages here and there. But in some cases, shoes can still be used beyond that point. It really has to depend on your judgment. But today, we'll be using different things to help us out. Just go with it.
Today we will be using shoes to help us out. How long have you had your shoes? Has it been weeks, months, or years? In addition to that, how often have you run or walked in them? Judging your shoe's mileage is essential to its usability, as it will give you an idea of its condition. Moreover, you can also determine if it's time for you to replace your shoes.
Yeah, so let's get the examples out, shall we? So I have this shoe here, and this shoe as well. This is our dad's shoe. Ava, do you want to talk about how many miles you think you ran in those pair of shoes?
Yeah, so I've had these shoes since high school. I used to run track and cross country, and by the looks of them, I think they're still able to be used in the future. And yeah.
Cool. Yeah. How many miles do you think you ran in them?
I'd want to say maybe a little over 200.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still usable. Yeah. So for these pair of shoes, I've owned these for about 2 or 3 years. As far as mileage, I would say I've ran maybe 150 to 175 miles maybe. And the condition is still pretty new. The exterior has not as much damage, and judging from my experience, it still works. I still use it to this day. So these are both examples of gauging a shoe's mileage and understanding that, it may have been a lot, but the shoe can still be donated and reused. But let's use an example where that may not be the case. Let's look at our dad's shoe here. As you can see, broadly, this shoe has a lot of damages. The exterior is off. There's not a lot of grip on the shoe. And I'm not sure if you can see that, but the inside of the sole is experiencing a lot of wear and tear. This shoe, how long do you think Dad's owned these? He's owned these since we were like kids.
Yeah, it's been a while, actually.
Yeah. So, it's these types of shoes you want to try and avoid. We'll get to this later in the video, but if you run into this issue where you have shoes that you can't donate, you can do a number of things. You can donate it to your local Nike clearance store, where they might use it to create tracks and new shoes, because Nike does that. Or you may just want to put your shoe in the recycling bin, because shoes are able to be recycled. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next factor. The next factor that we want to discuss is overall impressions, kind of what we just talked about. So, based on the shoe mileage, do you have an overall impression of your shoe? Think about a scale from 1 to 5. 5 being the shoe is, in somewhat new condition, and 1 being in really worn and used condition. Where do you think your shoe falls in this category? And some things you want to consider is damages you see right away. Do you notice any wear and tear right off the bat? Or does the shoe appear somewhat new? And it's these kinds of things that you want to think about. Shoes with 3 or more are typically usable again. You don't have to worry so much. But shoes with the ratings of 1 and 2 are often shoes that you want to avoid. However, in some cases, you might still be able to get away with donating the shoe. It's going to depend on the overall impression. So let's do it again. Let's look at the examples we have. Ava, your overall impression of the shoe, what do you think?
I would give this a good 4, maybe. Because looking at the exterior, it still looks pretty good, and there's still plenty of track on both shoes. So yeah, I would give it a good 4.
Yeah, and that's a shoe that has experienced a lot of mileage, but it's still able to be reused. I would score my shoes 4 or 5, somewhere in between. I haven't owned the shoes for a long time, and the last time I exercised with these shoes, I didn't experience any difficulty at all. It was very good to go. Here's a shoe that might not get the same recognition. If you could rate Dad's shoes, what would you rate it?
Possibly in the negatives, but this would be an easy rating of a 1. Yeah.
Now, you see, you said that really quick. So I'm just wondering, was there anything that you saw right away that gave you the impression that this was a 1?
From looking at the exterior, I could see plenty of wear and tear on both shoes, and that's not what we look for in terms of trying to donate to other people and whatnot.
Yeah, and just, if you're donating just broadly, even if it's not to us, you want to avoid donating shoes like this, because the next person that's going to use these shoes won't be able to use it for a long time. And if they do choose to use it, it's not safe. So yeah, that's about it for this section, your overall impression. It's just all about grading it on a scale.
Now let's examine the exterior of our shoes. As we look at our shoes, we want to consider different things. Is the shoe still intact, or is it tearing apart? Are the shoelaces still useful? Shoes with clear and obvious cracks and rips should be avoided.
Okay, so now let's roll with it. Let's look at some examples.
You can go first.
Yeah, so right off the bat, we've said this in the other sections. I'm not seeing any rips. I mean, it might be creased here, but that doesn't mean that it's like completely worn out. Okay, what about your shoe?
Yeah, so same with my shoe. It still looks really well, like, on the outside, but as we look inside the shoe, there are some tears. But other than that, this shoe is still good to go and is still, able to be used in the future.
And you can still tie your shoes. The shoelaces are still intact with this shoe and that shoe.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like this video is just roasting Dad. Now let's look at this shoe. Again, we're evaluating the exterior of the shoe. Right off the bat, we can see there's a tear, a rip there.
Tears, yeah.
Right? The shoe's coming apart as is. It's...
There's just tears all around the shoes.
Yeah.
And it's completely not
tears galore.
usable in the future.
Yeah. So, again, we're going to say this and sound like broken records. Try to avoid shoes like these that have exterior damages. That'll tell you right away whether or not you should donate the shoe or recycle it. And after this video, I'm thinking we should recycle this.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. The next area we want to evaluate is the sole of the shoe, the interior. Are the soles of the shoe still there? Are they damaged? Typically, you should try to donate shoes with intact soles to provide proper foot protection for recipients. As runners, we know too well how painful it can be when you don't have shoes that properly protect you. So it's very important that you donate shoes that still have soles and the soles are still intact. So let's use the examples yet again.
Do you want to go first?
You can go.
Well, for my shoes, the soles are still intact and still very much usable for anybody in the future. There are no tears, and that's how I know that these shoes can be donated.
Yeah. Same goes here. The sole is still intact. Judging from overall impression, there's no rips. There's no way it's going to be coming out anytime soon. Yeah.
And you can easily take out the soles of your shoes to kind of like examine them further. As you can see, there are no tears and it's still, you know, completely usable.
Yeah, yeah. The soles on here, on this shoe, are, you know, starting to come out. You know, it's kind of hard to show on camera, but what I'm seeing here is that it's starting to rip out, so that if it comes out, there's no way that we can possibly put it back in. So, as we check the conditions of the shoe, we want to be able to evaluate not only the exterior of the shoe, but also the interior. And the interior happens to play a very big role in protecting the person wearing the shoe. And the last place that we are going to evaluate today is odor. Now, some of you may think it's funny or embarrassing. It's totally fine if that happens to be the issue. If your shoe has a weird smell, you can try a number of things. You can try washing it, and there's plenty of sustainable ways to wash it. If we don't already, we'll put a blog in there on cleaning shoes, but that's one alternative you could try. The next alternative or option you can try is thinking about recycling the shoe. If that odor persists, that's not something that you want to have on a shoe that you're donating, because then that could lead to infection and put the user or the next user of the shoe in danger. So if the odor is there and it persists after cleaning, think about recycling the shoe. But that's about it as far as wrapping up our criteria for looking at the different shoes. I'm going to go through a summary, right? Let's summarize. So we looked at the mileage of the shoe, and we checked how much we've used the shoe. How long have we owned it for? 2, we did an overall impression of the shoe. Does the shoe give us any clear signs, right? The third thing we did was look at the exterior of the shoe. Typically, this is an obvious takeaway as to whether or not the shoe can be used or not. But sometimes it may not be so obvious. That's why we looked at 4, the interior of the shoe, and we looked at its sole. Is the sole intact? Is it there? Is it damaged? Things of that nature. And last but not least, we looked at odor. We forgot to use the examples. So none of the shoes that we have any odor, right?
That one we will not smell. But
Yeah. But we're not getting any clear indication from here, okay?
Yeah.
But I can speak from experience that I've had teammates in the past that have had shoes like this. It was no big deal. All they did was replace the shoe and they were good to go. But that's about it for our criteria. And right before we wrap up, something that we wanted to mention is that if you are in the same boat as our dad and you're using a really old pair of shoes for chores and for doing yard work and things like that, that's perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, if you didn't want to recycle your shoes just yet and you really wanted to maximize its usage, you could definitely do that. So I forgot to mention this could be an alternative for you if your shoes don't make the cut. And Dad, if you're watching this, we still accept you and we still appreciate you doing work around the house, and sometimes it takes using a pair of shoes to do it. So that's perfectly reasonable. And for those of you at home that are still wondering, can I still use these shoes? Of course you can. Just make sure that, 1, it's safe for you, you're not getting any injury from it, and 2, make sure you're comfortable, right? But yeah, that's about it.
So how was that? Did your shoes pass the guidelines? Some of you might ask, what if my shoes are not usable? Well, that's okay. There's different ways to go about this, but shoes are actually recyclable. Follow along with our blogs on our website to learn more about this.
And that's about it for this video. We hope that it helps. If you would like to donate shoes to us, and if you would like access to a physical copy of this rubric that we've laid out in this video, you can feel free to visit our website and click the tab that says Give Shoes. Everything that we mentioned in this video, from each criteria and how to evaluate each area, is on our website. You can also contact us over email if you feel unsure even after watching this video or looking at that criteria. We'd be more than happy to help. And since that's about it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Bam!
What's up, guys? It's Ava.
It's Russell. Testing, 1, 2, 3. I don't know if that has any effect.
So let's talk about mileage. How long have you had your shoes? Has it been weeks, months, or years? In addition to that, how often have you run or walked in them? Judging your shoes' mileage is essential to its usability as it will give an idea of its condition. Moreover,
Just say it!
I'm trying! Now let's look at
Let's look at what?
Stop! Alright. Alright, here we go. And last is odor. You just say this last part and I'll do the next.
Alright, fine.